Everbank is proud to sponsor the How-To series by the Real Estate Board of New York.
I think from a property owner industry-wide standpoint, we really have to figure out what is the best infrastructure. Is it Wi-Fi? Is it Bluetooth? Is it iBeacon? Is it a different proprietary wireless network that ultimately engages the volumetric space of our buildings in a way so that we can retrieve data? You know, how do we count people? Right now we're using our turnstiles and we're using our elevators. Is there a better way to do that? Should we be using our security cameras? Should we be using ultimately our Wi-Fi networks? And I think that's really the unknown at this point. How do we do that efficiently? How do we future-proof that so that when we put this infrastructure in, it's not the wrong infrastructure that won't allow us to expand and to ultimately be ready for the new technologies that are coming into our business world. And I think it's acknowledging that an operating system like DBOS is the best way to go. Because if we don't have that operating system, we don't have a platform where new applications are going to be able to plug into. The beauty of DBOS is that each application that we develop or others develop adds to the collective intelligence of DBOS, which allows the building to be more efficient. It's time for big data to come into the real estate world. It's time for analytics. It's time for us to realize that sociology, the lost science, if you will, is probably the most important science. And as we collect data, let's not dump it, let's use it. And let's use it collectively. Because if we're really focused on smart cities, I think it's pretty clear that you can't have a smart city without smart buildings, and you can't have smart buildings without a brain. Buildings have never had a brain. They now have a brain with DBOS. And a brain is ultimately something that can remember and learn from that memory, and ultimately then make predictive and prescriptive decisions going forward. Buildings have always had a heart. That's the engine room. What we need to focus on as an industry is what the central nervous system of that building should be, the series of sensors, the infrastructure necessary to support those sensors. What data are we actually retrieving? What data is valuable? What data is not valuable? All of that relates to the central nervous system. We think it's going to be both wired and wireless. We think it's going to be ultimately connected to smartphones so that our Wi-Fi networks are pinging to a smartphone. We identify, okay, there's a person in that room or multiple people in that room. That's going to give us data that ultimately can allow us to target conditioned air to that space, or not if no one's in that space. Lighting is another very important component of this. Companies like Enlighted and Cisco creating LED lighting systems that ultimately are a new sensor network. You get rid of the ballast, you replace it with a chip. That chip can do a lot of things and ultimately deliver a lot of data back to the property owner that's very, very valuable.